Part 2 to Breaking the Paint. There were no physical affairs, so far, and the whole gang of friends includes mostly mutual friends. Also, aside from the last few weeks, she tends to go out on average twice a year. The other 363 days of the year she is sitting in our den playing with kids or cleaning up the house, typically without my help. So, yay, if she was squeezing a PA in, she should be on here giving people tips on how to do it. She has, however, relied on a couple other guys for conversation and support while I pretty much sat around and ignored her. I don't remember mentioning being denied any bonding other than in the last month, and I haven't even attempted to try. Seeing as I almost lived at a new address 3 weeks ago, pushing the physical issue would be a huge mistake. And yes, right now I look weak. I have been on the weak side of every discussion since this all started, mostly due to the fact that I am to blame for a majority of it. I am acting and it seems to be getting better. It's really not as simple as man up and tell your wife to get over it. Truth is, we do not really have any people to just take the kids for the weekend. My father and her father both live 10 or so hours away. Her mother works 12s on most all weekends and really doesn't just stop by all that often. Since my mom was killed 2 years ago, we really just have not had that person to take the kids for us on a consistent basis. This really leads to us getting to go out without children once every couple months. We talked about that tonight actually. I am pretty much over the texting the two guys deal. I did make a serious stand that involved me ranting and raving like a madman over it. One of the guys is just a platonic friend that she talks to constantly. For the longest time I was convinced that he was gay, but he is apparently just into young chicks that party and drink heavily on a nightly basis. Their messages are also about stupid gossipy coworker junk and about her boredom sitting around the house while everyone ignores her. The other guy is where I had the issue since some of the things between them were inappropriate. I totally spazzed and blew her ass out for those. I know that I will see him next time he is in town, so I will straighten it out with him as well. One thing I remembered today was myself when I was in their industry. When I was a chef, I talked junk to every female that walked past my line. Hot or not, young or old, I made comments about what we were doing later that night and what we could do if their husbands were away. Would I have backed this up? Nah, it was part of the job as long as you didn't catch a harassment suit. I am willing to bet that a good bit of his comments was the same. Out of all the texts, deleted ones and non-deleted ones, none of them were comments she made to him. It was all one-sided from him to her. Either way, she knows that it is not appreciated and all hell will break loose if it happens again. I did stumble upon Athel's site a few days ago and I'll add MMSL to my list. On a happy note, I arranged a meeting with a new MC today for the 21st. I told my wife that I had made an appointment with a MC that also does IC and she was more than welcome to join me if she would like. She really didn't say anything at the time, but a little while ago she approached me to make sure that I had someone lined up for the kids so we could go together. Long road to go. Getting it done one step at a time. We never took turns with anything. If a kid woke up, she went and got them. Last weekend was the first time since my son was born that I got up with him and let her sleep in. I felt the same way about the housework. For the longest she didn't work or only worked a few hours a week, so I let her do all the housework and really never paid any attention to if she cared or not. Other than the last 8 months of our relationship, she has worked full-time and handled both kids. Since we hooked up 12 years ago, we have had a fight about every third year about how she would like me to do more around the house so she didn't feel like a maid. I usually do pretty good about chipping in for a few weeks until I am not in trouble, and then I go right back to sitting around playing games or reading while she handles all the business. As for checking out with the kids, yep, I pretty much did it. I really didn't put out any affection to anyone around me. We still did family things or played around in the yard, but my wife handled all of the bedtime duties or sick kid duties while I ignored most everything around me. I am rather sure there is no other guy still. If it were that simple, we would split right up. If she wanted me out of the house when this all started, she could have said there was one, and she knows that would have ended any talks. I asked her straight up twice if it were another guy or even the possibility of another guy, and both times she told me that she has not messed around with anyone since we met and is simply tired of being used like a servant and machine. If it turns out to be another guy, I will be sure to make a video for everyone of me eating my hat. Sometimes the most logical answer, she is tired of her husband ignoring his family and not making any real contributions other than a paycheck, is the answer. And on a different note, we had a second day with no real discussion of our issues and problems. She had her second day at her new job and it was terrible to her. Being a restaurant person for the last 15 years, she is not used to an office setting. It was quite an adjustment for me to go from the free-form lifestyle of hospitality to the mostly rigid, just you and four walls, life of an office worker. The entirety of her day consisted of sitting in an empty office. Her new office will not be ready for 2 weeks and reading manual after manual about state legal practices. It is really going to take some adjustment for her. I made sure to tell her that although I had not really been here to talk in the last few years, that I was there to be supportive and listen to her vent. For the first time in recent memory, we set the children in the other room in front of the TV. We really do not let them watch TV, and just sat at the kitchen table so she could vent. It turns out that she really only took this job so I would be proud of her and so I would feel like she was finally contributing financially to the family. I did my best to just let her get it out, and by the end of the conversation she had turned back into her happy old self. Aside from that, she really spent no time later that evening talking to her girlfriends on Facebook like what has become more common these days. Instead, we put the kids to bed, I took a quick exam, and we played a game of chess while we talked about nothing. It felt good to hang out and laugh with her again. It is strange. We seem to be in a step forward, setback pattern around the house. Last night I tried to break the cycle of put the kids in bed and then do our own things. Once we sat down for the evening, she jumped on Facebook as usual. I asked her if she wanted to just hang out and talk or play a game. We are really big into board games. I really did not want to get into anything emotional, but of course once we started talking, she told me that she really gave up on us over a month ago. She felt like I would never change and that the only thing she could do was to wall me off and find a way to separate. Even with the positive changes that I have made in the course that I am staying on, she really does not know if her feelings will come back. She told me that she had become so used to being alone that she learned to accept it and that she had made it okay to not have me around. I asked her again if there was someone else, or even the thought of someone else, and she still says no. She had been dedicated to fixing us for some time now, but she had finally checked out and she is unsure if it is just too late. I was also told that affection between us currently did nothing for her. It didn't disgust her, but she did not crave it. At some point I had my arms around her and she said she no longer felt that safe feeling and that it would all be okay when we touched. I really didn't know where to go with that. I told her that if that was where this was going to stay, then we could just wrap it all up when we got home from our vacation on November 2nd. I really didn't feel that I could stay with someone that no longer cared to work it out. I also told her that I kind of felt like she had already picked a date in her mind of when she was going to tell me, see, look, you have tried for X amount of time to be a great husband and the feelings are just not there. Here are your papers. She assured me that it was not true and that any split would be mutual. After that, the mood of the conversation shifted and she told me some truths that I had not heard. Right now, she is forcing herself to not let me back in. She is really just holding on and waiting to see what I do and how I handle this whole situation. She told me that I am still her husband and she loved me, but she really does not want to risk allowing me feelings and emotions if I will just cut her off all over again. She told me that she was feeling like she is letting herself down by giving me one last chance since she had made her mind up already. That last statement was both hopeful and crushing. She has backed down on any sort of time limit to work things out. It has become more of a let's see how this feels as it progresses. She hopes that through counseling she can break down the wall that she built and allow our family to heal. She finished the conversation by saying she would work on it and give us a chance. I have no clue if she is serious or just trying to shut me up for a few days, but she stuck to her guns this morning. I asked her if she was just trying to appease me and end the conversation last night or if she meant what she said. She told me that she meant that she would work on it. She could not promise me that she would get over it, but she will quit trying to ignore it. After we loaded the son up in my vehicle this morning, we hugged and she cried. I kissed her on the cheek, told her that regardless of all the crap we have going on, I loved her and wished her a good day at her new job. A little while later she called to see if I had something in my car and told me she loved me as we got off the phone. Who knows where this is going? I hope that we look back on this in 10 years and are thankful that we went through it because our marriage came out stronger in the end. Here's to Friday night. May it be less emotional and more fulfilling. Why does it feel like I have to be an ass to get anywhere with my wife now? It seems like when we have calm discussions about reality as it pertains to us, nothing happens but a lot of crying and blame. I am starting to grow tired of being wrong in every situation. I am actually starting to get angry and pushing back more than I am comfortable with currently. Tonight, I got in trouble for volunteering to go to the store for milk because she wanted to go in order to have a break from the kids. Last night I got in trouble for bawling like a baby after I received an email from my lawyer that the papers in my mother's wrongful death suit were finally fired. By the way, today is the 2-year anniversary of her being killed. She was pissed that I am just now properly grieving instead of 2 years ago when she wanted to help me. How incredibly freaking rude is that? I am seriously at my wit's end. She still claims to need some space to think it all out. She doesn't believe that I can keep up with caring for the kids and contributing around here domestically at the rate that I have been for the last 3 weeks. I really don't want to tell her that it really isn't that hard to do because that will open up a huge fight. I tried to set up some boundaries with her last night, but she still didn't know what she wanted. I asked once again if I need to go stay in the other house for a while, and she said no. I asked if she would like me to sleep in another bed here, and she said no. I even asked if she just wants me to hang out in our den at night for a while so she can have time to think alone, and she couldn't answer either. I told her that I would be happy to go have papers drawn up and she can hold on to them just in case, and she didn't want that. Tonight, I asked if I needed to keep single coverage insurance through my company as a precaution. We start on her much cheaper insurance next month, and she said that even if stuff doesn't pan out, she will just keep me in it for a few months until open enrollment again. That's a year away, and before people chime in, there isn't another guy still. Of the ones she had me worried about, they have stopped talking. The one guy is still happy with his girlfriend and not into her, and the other is back in his home state and she really won't hear from him for another year. I really am starting to think that if she just gets out all of the old in her mind and adjusts to this new job, things may begin to calm down. Her friends are all telling her to go home and fix it. It really is just on her now. Best day in months yesterday. There really is something to being firm and regaining control. We aren't back physically, but we have never been one of those all over each other couples constantly. After going to the "I'm just not going to talk about it anymore, let me know if there is something you want to talk about and we will sit down after the kids are in bed" stance, there has been no emotional drama. Even grocery shopping, which she tends to hate with a passion, went by rather easily yesterday. The combination of staying consistent with working with the kids and helping with the domestic duties, as well as staying firm and regrowing my spine, are paying off. Here's to Monday. It has varied throughout time. Right now, it is more 50-50 since we are actually sitting down and talking about everything. For the first 6 years or so, I probably made 70% of all the decisions. The last 3 or 4 years I have deferred to her more often since the decisions typically involve things for the children. I've kind of went with the mother knows best philosophy. We are really not TV people. We let our children watch TV in maybe an hour a day, and that tends to be while we are making dinner and getting the house in order. When we do sit down and watch television without the children, it's typically shows that we both really enjoy. If those aren't on the TV, maybe on a music channel or the news just as background noise. On set, as we both watch college football because she and I both really enjoys it. I believe that's part of living in the South and we do not want to get kicked out. As for things that we do together, but play a lot of board games, garden, video games, and go to silly festivals for day trips. Before we had children, we spent the majority of our time playing video games or going out to hear bands play at local bars. So, no real drama or arguments in the last few days. The only comment that has been made recently was when I was talking about a possible vacation next year and she said, "Who knows where we will be in a year?" I think that is her way of reminding me that I need to not bottle back up and get lazy on the family again. So far, the new family schedule is working out well. She used to drop off and pick up both kids each day. Now we each drop off one in the morning. I pick up one at 2 p.m. who sits at my office until 4, then I pick the other one up on my ride home from daycare. This puts us both getting home at 5-ish, which has been great. She went to a charity event last night after the kids' soccer game. As per the usual, I asked when she thought she would be home and she told me 8 p.m. I just knew 8 would turn into 10:30 when we parted ways. When I got the kids home, I saw the event on my FB page and it was running till 8:30. I knew she made a mistake in her planning, but I let it be and kept the kids on schedule with food and bed. Much to my surprise, she walked in the door at 7:58. Never in a million years did I expect it. Now for my last issue. I really want to call up the friend of ours that sent her the off-color text messages. I really am not pissed off about it anymore and I believe that there was no harm intended, but I really want to express my dislike of that sort of behavior. I am still okay with them being friends and even hanging out the once a year he comes to town, but a line needs to be drawn. I need to clear it with her before I do it so she understands that I am not trying to screw up her friendship, I am trying to prolong it. She understands that if I ever find or suspect anything like that again, I will handle it with him in person, which has the possibility of turning out way nastier than a phone call. You guys think I should push the issue and tell her that I need to call him to get all of that off my chest, or just leave it alone? I really think I would feel much better if I had a chance to confront him on it. If he still lived here in town instead of 12 hours away, I would have already been on his doorstep and it would have been laid to rest. I also feel good that the spiteful comments are starting to slow down. She had a good bit of repressed rage over my lack of work around the house and lack of care for the kids. Now that we have established a new routine around the house, things are so much better. We are still managing to hit the couch at 8:15-ish each night, but now everything is done and she isn't stomping down the hallway with a load of laundry and sighing at me on the couch. My goal is to keep up the good work. Aside from calling our mutual friend about his old tests, there are no other issues in our marriage that are holding us back. She needs me to stay consistent and I need her to begin her healing process. 12 days until our MC appointment, and 17 days until our 10th anniversary, and we leave to take the kids to Orlando. I've been banking on the happiest place on earth breaking her shell. She is just so far gone in comparison to anything that I have ever encountered with her that I have no idea where this thing will go. We had a small discussion in the car yesterday that went from simple question to full-blown anger in next to no time. It really makes me just want to not talk to her at all while she deals with her junk, but when I do that, I am ignoring her. After the kids went to bed, we had yet another long talk. I am so freaking tired of talking about where her expectations are. According to her, she has not been any happier in the last month, regardless of how much I have recovered or what I am doing for her and the kids. For some reason she still wants to give it time to see if her feelings return, but it is extremely hard for me to keep going when I can tell that she refuses to move on and see the big picture. I asked again if I should go ahead and leave or at least have the guy that is staying in my other house start looking for a place to live. He is staying there for free while I have it on the market to sell, but as usual she says no, she will give it time and see where it goes. She also told me that had we not had children we wouldn't even be discussing this still, which I agreed. We both came from divorced homes and always wanted to provide a happy home for our kids just to prove that it can be done. When we talk, she always cries from start to finish. I can tell that she had totally given up and was ready to be gone, and now she is fighting with herself over working anything out. She told me last night that I really have no idea how close she was a month ago to leaving, finding somewhere to live, and then sending for the kids and their stuff. That is hard to come back from. She now dreads coming home because of all of the emotion flying around the house. She is scared that I am either going to carry on being wonderful until she lets her guard down and then go back to being my old self, or that I am going to start a 4-hour-long discussion on what she is feeling. My new goal: no discussions about anything involving us. We have a MC appointment in 11 days. For a week and a half, I am going to carry on around the house and ignore her and her problems. I've contacted an IC today to get me in for the very first appointment that they can. I feel that if I can get someone on the outside to hear me, then I will not feel the need to discuss anything with her. My doc also prescribed me some pills for mild anxiety a couple months ago that I avoided talking, so I started those a few nights ago, and they really helped taking the constant anxious feeling down a couple notches. I really hope this IC can get me in soon. I really need to unload. In other news, I spoke with a friend yesterday that really set my head straight. Though I feel that I need to make drastic changes in my life to keep my wife, I cannot lose me in the process. I have a pretty badass group of friends that I have lost contact with over the last decade, and I need to reconnect and remember who I am. My female friends feel like my wife is just stuck in depression from having kids, changing jobs, and lack of a strong romantic life. Most pretty much agree that there really isn't anything that I can do to make her better, with the exception of giving her time and not pushing any issues. I signed up with an IC yesterday, but my first appointment with him isn't until the day before our first MC appointment. I have offered to set my wife up with an IC, but she still maintains that she has no issues in the world other than things I had done in the past. I am actively working on me. Now it is more for the future, with or without her, than anything else. I now know that unless she delves into the things that she is holding on to, then there will be no progress. That is much easier on my soul than to believe that I was losing a wife over small things. On a happy note, there was no fighting or sadness at the house last night. We ran through the motions of a typical family, played with the kids in the yard, cooked, cleaned, washed babies, read stories, and then hit the couch. I made sure that anything I did domestically was up to her standards and expectations, just to avoid her having anything else to put on me. I have 13 days to go until our MC appointment, and I really do not want her to have anything petty like he doesn't clean up or he should spend more time with the kids to talk about. Worst comes to worst, I have developed one hell of a good routine. Let's just hope that routine stays at our house, not moves to my new house. I know she has some issues from her early years: family breakup, extremely weak family situation, possible molestation, stayed in custody of her mother who never treated her like a daughter, that she has never dealt with. She has told me a few things in the last month that even I had not heard in the 12 years that we have been together. I am really starting to believe that she is not healthy, and I am the easiest thing to project it onto. Maybe it's the meds keeping my anxiety down now so I can clearly think, but I feel as though I have owned up to my part in all of this. I hope that her seeing me go to IC and arranging MC, that she will feel comfortable finding an IC for herself so she can unload and reboot. It is also making it so much easier on me to realize that the blame isn't all mine. I've done about all the digging possible, and there is just nothing really there. She was simply trying to avoid hearing me crap about her constantly running around with people instead of handling her normal business. A conversation happened about inappropriate comments being made, and that bit is over. She is also not tech savvy by any means. I have read every text between her and this person in particular going back like 3 years. Aside from the 3 comments that really pissed me off, it has never been remotely dirty or flirty. There have never been weird calls in the middle of the night or anything to that effect. The only times that they have even really communicated heavily were 2 times that his wife acted crazy and tried to run off with their kids. Even then, the conversations were always about, did you find her or the kids? Or so and so said to call this lawyer. Yes, they are still speaking, but I think it was twice since he was in town. One was that his wife grabbed his kids again and left the state. The other was about him finding a lawyer and to tell everyone here to keep a lookout for his soon-to-be ex. As much as I had hoped to snoop and find something that would allow me to just push her out and fight to keep the kids if it came down to that, it just simply isn't there. It is a long-distance friendship that pops up for a few days here and there and then goes away for 6 months at a time. And out the door she goes. Bring home flowers tonight, make a bit of dinner, she has a couple beers before she gets here, and all hell breaks loose. I messed up and told her that we needed her and gave her flowers. She told me that the family only wanted her to be their maid. There was really no coming back from that point. She kept on about how she needed space to figure it all out and how I won't give it to her. I asked, once again, what kind of space she needed, and all she could say is that she doesn't know. I asked about separating and me staying in our other house, and she said she didn't want to hurt my feelings and feel like she broke the family up. I asked if she just wanted to divorce and be through with it, and she still said she didn't know, but she was through doing whatever we are doing now. I finally told her that if she wasn't willing to fight for it at some point, then it would all be a waste of time. No number of talks or reading or counseling would fix any of it as long as she was determined to not let any of the past go. She screamed something about fine, she would fix it, then broke some stuff, grabbed her keys and purse, and out the door she went. She called an hour later to let me know that I'd be lucky if I saw her again this weekend, and that was that. So, it's just me and the kids. It's quiet but lonely. Well, she came by and swapped vehicles last night and is apparently staying at a girlfriend's house. She is trying to get away to clear her head and see if she honestly wants to give us a shot without pressure from me and the kids. I hate it because the 15-month-old is already up asking for mama, and the 4-year-old will have a breakdown when mommy isn't at soccer today. When she came by to give me the car with the baby set in it, I heard her telling her friend, hurry, he's going to come out. When I did, calm and collected as could be, her friend looked surprised, like she expected me to be crazed or violent. I offered her some cash and told her she could run inside and pack a bag while I waited outside, and she declined. She actually looked afraid, like I was going to grab her and force her inside or something. I told her friend about an issue with the truck, told them to have a good weekend, and went back inside to the kids. I'm really starting to think that my wife has some issues that she needs help with. She has been prescribed antidepressants but never took them and has no idea how she became so upset, but just feels like she needs to run. There is nothing I can do for her. She really just needs to get her head on straight and make some decisions. I really hope that I'm wrong about all this and she comes home Sunday with her head on straight and ready to do something. I am not cold or don't talk. I just keep all of my stuff inside instead of talking about it. I am actually quite friendly and outgoing. I did, however, fail to give my wife what she needed, and it did create resentment. Tons of resentment. One of our biggest issues has been that we never really sit down and talk about anything of importance, and that we are both typically so busy with life that our conversations are quite short and to the point. It also did not help that her experience in life had been limited to a few hours of work each day and several hours a day of contact with pretty much no one but the kids. As it turns out, this weekend has really helped to calm her down. She came back on Sunday morning and things have been shockingly normal ever since. She did clue me into a few things this weekend. She happened to be at the house grabbing a change of clothes when the kids and I returned from soccer. The kids were incredibly happy to see her. They had never had a night where she was not home. I told her that we were running to a festival for the day, then going to another family's house to watch a football game that evening, and she was welcome to come. She declined because she knew that we would end up in some sort of discussion about our relationship and it would just ruin the evening. She hung out while I made the kids lunch and got them changed for the day. During our conversation, which was drama-free, she finally told me that she felt like she is having some sort of breakdown and just needed some room to think without a husband or children needing her constantly. She went on to tell me that she just needed a few days to relax and sort things out in her head and not have to fight through emotion and drama at home. She also brought up a point that I had not thought about. She had not had a night or weekend away from the house since around 2003. I cannot say why she hasn't gone anywhere, but she has typically been a homebody and spent a majority of her time, until our first kid was born 4 years ago, at home playing video games or traveling with me. I tend to spend time each month traveling for work, and I also take overnight or weekend trips a few times a year with the guys to festival or convention that she has no interest in. Seeing how a couple days mostly away from the house reinvigorated her, I hope she takes a few nights away more often. I told her that she should make it a point to take some trips with her friends, even if it is overnight, to do some shopping or concerts in another town. The kids need to adjust better to her not being home sometimes, and she needs time to be herself with her friends. She spent Saturday night at a girlfriend's house again and came home Sunday a.m. As far as I am aware of, everything was on a steadier path at the house. We hung out all morning, did a birthday party and some shopping in the afternoon. I noticed that it seemed like we were both on our best behavior all day and we clicked really well, unlike the last month or so. In the evening we grilled out, put the kids in bed, and settled in to watch some TV and relax. Amazingly, no discussions of feelings or drama came up all day. It was kind of exciting to hear her have stories about her weekend, since she rarely has anything to talk about other than the normal workday stuff. We even confirmed that the trip and counseling in less than 2 weeks are a go. We plan to not discuss the hurt feelings and emotions for a while and just focus on being normal again. Hopefully we can slowly work on the underlying issues through the counseling while not beating each other up with words in the meantime. If progress is made between us, then a much longer time than if we go back to fighting about nonsense every third day. Who knows, we may hit a few counseling sessions and realize that we are wasting our time, or that we are still madly in love deep down inside but too hurt to properly express it. We both know that there is a finite amount of time that each of us are willing to work to make a better marriage and family. I expect the worst of it is behind us now, but with any attempts to fix a marriage, I am sure it can go south again. I'll stay positive and just be me. I have no control over anyone else. Also, a lot of good has come out of the last few months. I have reconnected with many old friends and begun to socialize with people that I had forgotten about. I have actually become a more attentive person in general, with my wife, my friends, and my co-workers. I know I have become a more active father. My health is also so much better as I am properly medicated and supplemented, as well as the 20 pounds that I have dropped in the last 2 months. So worst gets to worst, I am physically and mentally way better off than I was just a few months ago. As for space, I have plenty of it. I have always been free to come and go as I please. I am going out with an old friend tomorrow night and hooking up with people on Thursday to play some tabletop games. She is also going to work on Friday night to have more cash to take to Disney in 10 days, so I'll have all the room I want that night as well. The one that does not get enough space is my wife, and I am trying to get her to start creating space for herself so she doesn't feel like she has to overdo it when she does manage to leave the house for an evening. My comment: glad to hear that you're in a good place with the changes you've been making. I'm rooting for you, but I get the nagging sense that your wife is not being honest with you about what is really fueling her breakdown. If I were you, I would probably conduct a bit of surveillance to gain some more insight into what is actually going on and why she is behaving this way. Part 3 coming tomorrow morning. Hit that bell to see the updated SAP.